So Huawei just launched their newest phones in their Mate flagship line, the Mate 20 and the Mate 20 Pro. And they were kind enough to fly me out here to London to check out the devices and give me a little time with each. So I figured I would try to do a complete walkthrough for you guys. Now, if you're not familiar, a complete walkthrough on this channel is where I try to go through every feature I possibly can on a new device so that you guys are better prepared should you be in the market to buy one. So in this video, let's start with the Mate 20 Pro, and there is a ton to go through on this device. So let's get started with the design. Now first, I just have to say that with the P20 Pro and the P20 of last year, along with these two new devices, it seems to me like Huawei is paying a lot more attention to design language, to trying to make these devices truly look uniquely theirs. The P series, for example, is meant to resemble a camera from behind, while this new look for the Mate series that I imagine they'll continue with isn't on any other popular device that I know of, and I kind of like it. Now we have curved glass all around that makes it feel nice in hand actually, and it comes in 5 colors. 2 gradient colors, pink gold and the new twilight that goes from black to purple to blue instead of the old one that went from green to blue to purple. It's a more pronounced color because of that. We have a new texture that Huawei is calling Hyper Optical Display Pattern that is a feather line pattern with a vinyl texture to it to make it less slippery apparently, and you can even scratch it to make that vinyl sound. It'll come in midnight blue and emerald green in that new texture, and for those people who want it, we have plain old black. On the left, we have nothing. On the right, we have our different colored power button and our volume buttons. On the top, we have an IR blaster that can be used with the included app to control TVs, air conditioning units, and any other thing that has an IR receiver, basically. On the bottom, we have our USB-C port that can be used with Huawei's supercharged system for 40 watts. That'll get the device from 0 to 70% in 30 minutes. In addition to that, we have fast 15-watt Qi charging now, which I'm happy to see. And Huawei added a fun party trick with their Qi charging ability as well. You can now put any other Qi charging cable device on the back of your Mate 20 Pro and it'll charge that device. Can you imagine like being at dinner and topping up your friend's iPhone with this? And you might have noticed there doesn't seem to be any speakers on the device. That's because it uses the one in the earpiece and one inside the USB-C port. Also, something else clever, there is a dual SIM card slot that can use the SIM2 card slot for a new type of memory called nano memory, apparently. It's the same size as a nano SIM, but there is no word yet on the pricing or availability of this memory. If one of you guys know, let everyone else know below in the comments. The device is IP68 water resistant, so that means down to 2 meters for up to 30 minutes. It's powered by the new Kirin 980 chipset that has a dual NPU for machine learning, an 8-core CPU that Huawei claims is 75% more powerful and 58% more power efficient than the last model, and a new GPU. And I think, for sure, it feels snappier than the Mate 10 Pro, or even the P20 for that matter. Paired with this is the option of either 6 gigs or 8 gigs of RAM, and either 128 gigs or 256 gigs of storage. On the front, we have a 6.39-inch 3120 by 1440 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio OLED HDR display with, yes, a notch that is actually very reminiscent to the iPhone Xs, but there's a reason for that. It has very similar sensors in it. An IR camera, a dot projector, a 24 megapixel front-facing camera, a flood, etc. So of course, we now have 3D face unlock, as Huawei is calling it, which you can use to unlock the phone or even lock specific apps, etc. And honestly, it's fast, for sure. Besides that, we have an in-screen fingerprint scanner for those that would rather not use the face unlock. And I have to say, this is a lot faster than the other ones I've ever used, thankfully, because those other ones were pretty slow. But it does require you to put your finger in a specific place that it'll show with an icon, but only after the screen is turned on. After some use, you might get some muscle memory and just be able to automatically nail that position every single time, but we'll see. And finally, we have 1.4 gigabit per second LTE, Wi-Fi 802.11ac that can supposedly hit 1.7 gigabits per second, but I'm not quite sure how yet, Bluetooth 5.0, and a massive 4200 milliamp battery. Now for software, it's running Android Pie with EMUI 9, Huawei's custom user interface running on top. Since it is similar to any other version of Android, and especially any other EMUI device, I won't go through every single piece of the software, but here's the software that Huawei has installed and some of the bigger changes in the software. Firstly, you could choose between the traditional Android software buttons at the bottom of the screen, or you could use a gesture-based system. The gesture system lets you swipe from the left or right side to the screen to go back, up from the bottom of the phone to go home, up from the bottom and hold it to get to multitasking, and up from a corner to get to Google Assistant. You could choose between no app drawer with all of your apps on the home screen, or the more traditional dotted icon to get to your app drawer. We have our usual shortcuts in the notification shade that can be customized and swapped out for others. And for included apps, we have App Gallery, which is Huawei's app store, Backup, which is an app that lets you back up your device to an internal storage or an external device, Booking.com, which is just bloatware for Booking.com, Huawei Health, which is Huawei's own health tracking app for steps, etc., HiCare, which is Huawei's customer service app for support, Mirror, which is a weird app that lets you use the device as a mirror, which basically just opens the front-facing camera, but whatever, Music, which is Huawei's music app to play back music as well as buy new songs, Phone Clone, which lets you copy all your apps and data from or to another device, Phone Manager, that lets you monitor and adjust the performance, storage space, and battery usage, Recorder, which is an audio recording app, Sim Toolkit, which is an app to manage each of the dual SIMs, Smart Remote, the app to use the IR blaster that I mentioned before, Themes, which is a place to download or buy new skins or themes, Tips, which is an app to help you learn more about the device, Torch, which allows you to tap this button to turn the LED on as a flashlight, Microsoft Translator, a specialized version of the Microsoft Translator app from the Play Store that is optimized supposedly for the NPU in the Kirin chipset, and Wallet, which is Huawei's own version of Android Pay. Now in the back, we have our new 3-camera system tuned by Leica that thankfully has lost the monochrome sensor in exchange for 3 different focal lengths, which I think is way more useful. We have our same camera from the Huawei P20 Pro basically, with 40 megapixels and an f1.8 aperture with a standard focal length that can pixel bin down to 10 megapixels to get huge 2-micron sized pixels. From a video on why that camera was the best low light camera out, you can head here. Then we have the same telephoto from the P20 Pro, which is a 3x optical zoom, 8 megapixel f2.4 lens that is optically stabilized, thankfully. Now, I like this better than a 2x zoom, which is what is on most devices, because it's just a bit more versatile than the 2x and gives more options for framing shots. And finally, we have the new wide-angle lens replacing the monochrome from the Huawei P20 Pro that is a 20 megapixel f2.2 that is the equivalent of a 16mm lens. You can switch between the cameras using the same button at the bottom of the viewfinder to go from the 0.6x super wide to the normal angle to the 3x optical telephoto and finally to the 5x software zoom. Now, inside the camera UI, we have Huawei Lens, which is a shortcut to allow you to get to their version of Google Lens that identifies items to search for shopping, images, etc. We have Flash for our flash options. Motion, which is essentially live photos, which takes a small clip before and after a photo is taken that can be played back in the gallery. Color, you can select from standard, vivid, and smooth coloring, which mimic Leica film stocks, I'm told. Aperture, this allows you to mimic a faster aperture with a blurred background. This is similar to portrait mode, but this will work on any object, whereas portrait is only meant for people. You can also select between the 1x, 2x, and 3x zooms. Now, portrait mode. This does the same blurred background trick as aperture, but will only work if it recognizes a face, and it also adds a beautification feature to smooth skin, which I always find terrifying. We also have 3D lighting effects that can add stained glass reflections, shadows from blinds, and other, well, sort of cheesy lighting effects. Under photo, we have our usual auto mode for taking photos. You can shoot from 18.8 by 9 aspect 6 megapixel shots up to 4 by 3 in 40 megapixels. But if you use the 40 megapixels, you lose the pixel binning that creates those larger pixels that I mentioned. So I'd probably stick with the 4 by 3 10 megapixel unless you really just need more resolution and you're already in a bright area. Video, which is the usual auto mode for taking videos. You can shoot from 720p to 4K in 30 frames per second. There is no 4K 60. Pro, which is a mode that allows you to control various camera settings manually, like ISO, shutter speed, etc. Food, which basically just ups the saturation. Night mode, which is one of my favorite features from the P20 Pro, and it's made its way to the Mate 20 Pro as well. This takes a long exposure shot that uses some software magic to overlay the different exposures over the image to create a crisper, better exposed overall shot. Other devices can do something similar, but this is the only one I found that can do such a long exposure, and because of its software stabilization, it can negate your handshake, which normally would result in an image with streaks in it, even from a much more expensive camera. I actually use this even in the daylight to get like a super HDR image. If you want more info on this, you can check out the video below. Then finally we can tap More, and you can download other camera modes from the More button whenever more are available, I imagine. Then in the camera settings, we have GPS tag, which adds location metadata to the photo for organizational reasons, add watermark, which adds Huawei Mate 20 Pro Leica triple camera AI to the bottom left of every photo you take. No idea why you would want that, but sure. Master AI. So the usual AI camera helper that we're used to by now that can recognize various scenes and automatically adjusts the camera settings for that scene is also included. The new addition here though is that it can now also adjust to the different lenses based on what you're shooting, i.e. switching automatically to the wide angle lens when it thinks you're taking a photo of a landscape. Now I always turn this off on every single phone as I find it never does what I want, and frankly the addition of the switching lens quote unquote feature is even more obnoxious in my opinion. Assistive grid. This lets you turn on different grids to help you line up shots in the frame. I always use the rule of thirds personally. Mirror reflection, which turns the camera view around so it more resembles a mirror. Mute. This turns off the camera sounds. Why you would ever want those on, I'm not sure. Audio control, which allows you to say cheese to take a photo or have it automatically take a photo when the noise around the phone gets to a certain decibel level. Capture smiles. You can have it automatically take a photo whenever it recognizes a smile in the photo. 4D predictive focus. This is actually a clever use of the AI on the device, I think. It can recognize the subject, i.e. a person, a dog, etc., and automatically track that person with the autofocus, and it seems to be pretty accurate and fast in my quick time with it. Ultra snapshot. Now you can choose whether you want to automatically take a photo when you double tap the power button, have it open the camera, which is my preferred setting, or do nothing at all. And there, guys, as much as I could possibly squeeze into this video with the short time that I had it and all of these features. It kind of feels to me like Huawei just was like, oh, you like that feature from that phone? Oh, and that feature from that other phone? Oh, okay, yeah. We're gonna just put all those together into one phone. Now follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at TheUnlockr with any missing in the word unlocker for a bunch of photos that are gonna be taken on this device in the next few days and posted there. Let me know what you guys think of those whenever those do go live. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already and check the bell next to the word subscribe so you get notified when I do new videos. And in the comments below, let me know what you guys think of this phone. I'm kind of excited about it, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. And also what you think about this video, these complete walkthroughs. You want more information, less information. Always trying to improve these for you guys and always love to hear from you guys. As always though, regardless, thanks for watching.